Welcome to the Stephen Mansfield Podcast.
Welcome to the Stephen Mansfield Podcast. Great to have you with me here on this podcast where we look at current events through the eyes of history and character and faith and leadership. I want to talk to you in this podcast about 4 economic trends that are really surprising. You know, this podcast is not primarily about the headlines. I'm sure I could make a lot of hay by talking about the presidential election and Maui and things like that just all the time. I'll certainly refer to them. I'll certainly comment on them. But I like the background story. I like the trends that are really shaping our world. And because headlines tend to be about clickbait and about money and about drawing attention on the air, sometimes news outlets aren't telling the most important stories about trends and stats and facts of our current life. So I want to talk about 4 economic trends, 4 economic reports, perhaps is the way to say it, that give a real strong indication of what's going on in our world. Here we go. Number 1, in 2023, we are absolutely living in a great business boom. I'm quoting Axios there with that title. There's no question that we are in an entrepreneurial surge. More businesses are being started, records are being broken. Let me give you a sense of it. Because consumer demand is driving the economy right now. It's keeping us from hyperinflation. It's fueling spending, etc. We are actually in a very strong time, and washing out of COVID, washing out of some of the economic upheavals in business, there is a tremendous amount of entrepreneurship. Listen to this statistic. 484,000 new businesses popped up on Yelp. Now, that's compared to 389,000 over the same period last year. That's roughly a 25% increase year over year and a 46% increase from 2019. Think about that. In the last 4 years, we've risen in terms of new business being reported, and we're using Yelp as the device. A lot of economists are now. We're up 46% since 2019. No question that this is changing our world. Some of the biggest areas of gain are travel and hotels, for example, 39%, home services, 37%, auto, 27%, event services, 27%, and local services businesses, 23%. It's pretty stunning. Travel really does take the lead. It's amazing. And geographically, this is very interesting to me. Geographically, California, Florida, Texas, New York, and Georgia saw the most openings. But listen to this. Florida overtook Texas, moving to second after placing third last year. So Florida is leading the nation in terms of new business starts. Pretty stunning. Let me give you the macro statistic again. 484,000 new businesses popped up on Yelp in the first 7 months of this year. Really amazing. So we are living at a time of entrepreneurial surge. We're living at a time of new business starts. We are living at a time of inventiveness and creativity in business. We should do everything we can to feed this. Number 2, the second absolutely fascinating trend of our time is the way that wealth is being increasingly widely distributed. In other words, people at a broader level are becoming wealthier. Normally, wealth gets concentrated in the hands of the few, but the trend now is toward far wider wealth, far wider, more widespread economic increase. Let me read to you a little bit here from our report. And by the way, the report that I'm basing this on, I know some of you economic heads will want to know exactly where it comes from, but this is from Swiss Bank UBS's 14th Annual Global Wealth Report. Swiss Bank UBS 14th Annual Global Wealth Report. And that's easily found online. The story of the 19th and 20th centuries was one in which new wealth went mostly to the rich. both in terms of individuals and in terms of countries. That's now changing. Global median wealth, an indicator of how the typical person is faring, went up 3% in 2022, UBS found. For the world as a whole, median wealth has increased five-fold this century. Five-fold this century. Total global wealth is expected to rise by 38% in the next 5 years, with middle-income countries, rather than the ultra-rich, reaping the majority of the benefits. I mean, pretty stunning, absolutely stunning. Low-income countries are likely to see wealth grow by 11.8% per year over the next 5 years. The U.S. was part of the 2022's global trend of the rich getting poorer and the poor getting richer. While American boomers and Gen Xers saw their wealth decline in 2022, for instance, millennials got richer. I mean, it really is a stunning trend in our time. And frankly, listen to this conclusion. Global inequality is at its lowest level in nearly 150 years. Now, that doesn't mean we've won the battle and everybody's rich, but the level of wealth is more widely distributed than at any time in the last 150 years. Even in America, where we're constantly concerned about the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer, that is not what the statistics report. The rich did not increase dramatically. The rich got a little poorer, and the poor are getting dramatically, well, I'll use the word wealthier. I don't mean that they're Bill Gates. I just simply mean that they are rising. I'm really pleased by that. And again, the first trend that I identified for you feeds and explains the second trend. The more you have entrepreneurism, the more you have new business starts, the more you have a thriving economy driven by demand and creative people who are meeting that demand, the more wealth gets distributed. That's true in America, and that's true with what's going on worldwide. I travel a lot worldwide, as you know. I have in the past in my life, and I do now. And one of the things that touches me is you're talking to some sweet mama on the streets of Nigeria, and what's she doing? She's starting a business. She's thinking about the next generation in her family. She wants her kids to have a better life. She wants to pay for their school and their clothes. So what is she doing? She's got a business here, and she's got a business there, and she's got what we call a side hustle, and she's also a secretary for the airline, and that kind of thing. I see it everywhere. People are thinking entrepreneurially, where the laws allow and people can start businesses. The economy does well. Wealth is not redistributed, as in the sense that we're taking something from people, but in the sense that the poor do better. I'm really, really pleased by that. Now, the problem is that government can often get in the way. I'm not an extreme libertarian. I'm not an anarchist. I believe in government. As a Christian, I believe it's even ordained by God. But at the same time, you can have unwise government. So listen to this, those of you who are Americans, because this is one of the worst trends I know right now. The federal deficit in the United States is expected to nearly double this year, from about $1 trillion last year to $2 trillion for the fiscal year ending September 30th. This is easily found. You can easily find this online. I'm quoting from a Jeff Stein article, who's drawing from the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget projection. Okay, Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, and these are their projections. There's simply no precedent for deficits this large as a share of the economy. Outside war, deep recession, or pandemic, this is the largest increase that we have seen. It means interest costs will likely squeeze all other federal priorities. This is not good. We had a deficit approximately this size. The annual deficit was even higher, $2.8 trillion in 2021, amid record COVID spending. So we have had a larger deficit. However, we have rarely had it this large in peacetime or without crises like COVID. And in addition, now think about this, it has doubled in less than a year. So this is crazy, unrestrained government spending. By the way, I've told you before in earlier podcasts that Congress is broken. It is now possible for you to, for one of our elected leaders to get a law passed without having to confirm or report or explain or make a plan for how that law is going to be funded. It literally is possible now. So the revenue side of passing laws has collapsed in Congress, and that's part of the reason that our deficit is spiraling. Plus, frankly, not playing politics here, but the Biden administration is like a 13-year-old with a checkbook. It's just stunning. And now one other trend that sort of puts a hedge, a little bit of a governor, a little bit of a limiter on the first two wonderful trends I reported. The fourth trend is that income is down slightly in America, just down slightly for the average person, but spending is on fire in America. I think people came out of COVID. They had a backed up amount of wealth and a backed up amount of everything from frequent flyer miles to hotel points to whatever. And they, by the way, don't trust that the future economically is going to be better than the present. So what do? Despite the fact they're not making as much money, about 2% down overall in terms of income, people are spending. They are traveling. Some of them are starting businesses, and that's good. But we are spending despite the fact income is down. So there are some statistics, there are some trends that are troubling. They're not healthy economic indicators, but I want you to hang on to the two most interesting and most, I would say, positive, even inspiring stats. Number one, the stunning level of new business starts in the United States, and the fact that globally, wealth is being more widely distributed than ever in world history, and by far beyond the last 150 years. Now, I want to end this with some practical advice. I think that the principles of sound economics for an individual and a family never change. They never change. Get out of debt, create multiple income streams, train your children, if you have children, to think about economics, to understand how money works. Have, as I say, multiple income streams, have those side hustles. I think all that's very, very vital. And I want to urge that for those of you who need help and inspiration and coaching, I want to urge that you refer to everything that Dave Ramsey is doing. I have said before, Dave Ramsey is a friend of mine. We hang, but I have no economic connection to his company at all, other than that I occasionally speak for them. So I am not here. He's not a sponsor of this podcast. I don't have any sponsors. I don't need them. And I certainly am touting his company only because what they do with EntreLeadership, what they do in teaching people to get out of debt, what they do in teaching people to be entrepreneurs is the best I've seen. So as you listen to these economic trends and you're eager to ride the currents of a growing economy, ride the currents of really widespread wealth in the world, be an entrepreneur, be a person who's smart, be a person who's using money maybe more wisely than previous generations in your family has or have, I strongly urge that you tap into all that Dave Ramsey's doing. He's talking about everything. He's holding shows about everything and producing films about everything from the college debt racket to the need to restore the trades and not just information work in our society. And of course, he's famous for getting people out of debt, famous for inspiring entrepreneurship, famous for inspiring the kind of wealth creation that changes generations. So again, no financial connection on my part, but that doesn't keep me from recommending both my friend and a guy I admire and a company that I think is changing this generation. All right, pay attention to economics. The word economics just means house law, the laws for running a house, oikonomos in Greek. It means simply the principles, the laws for running a household. How do you run yours? Use this information and live wisely. Good things ahead.
Mansfield is a New York Times best-selling author, a popular global speaker, and senior fellow for public leadership at Palm Beach Atlantic University. His groundbreaking books on faith and society include The Faith of George W. Bush, The Search for God in Guinness, Mansfield's Book of Manly Men, and Lincoln's Battle with God. Learn more at stephenmansfield.tv.